I'm a 27-year-old female, painfully awkward, clueless about social cues, and living in constant fear of ending up alone. So naturally, I just finished my first emotional breakdown of the day. Fun, right? Lately, loneliness has hit me hard, like real loneliness. I've got a best friend, but over the past few years, we've drifted apart. We barely have anything in common anymore, and meeting up with her feels more like a chore than fun. I find myself longing for the comfort of my room rather than engaging in a half-hearted conversation. As for my other friends, I haven't seen or spoken to them properly in over a month. They're getting their lives together, career, family, the whole adulting package. And while I'm happy for them, I feel like I'm being left behind. When we do meet, it's always a blast, but those moments are fewer and farther between. Now, let's talk family. My mother? Let's just say she went full-on narcissist after I decided to marry someone she doesn't approve of. She's playing the victim card, tearing down my dad, who's honestly the most sensible person here, and acting like the entire world has wronged her. I used to be so close to her, but after she said things like, "You're buying me off with your money to justify your affair with that boy," and "My womb has produced rotten offspring," I'm done. Trying to pull her out of this mindset felt like sinking into quicksand. So, I've made the choice to break free by marrying the love of my life. My brother? I don't even want to acknowledge him. He's 33, single, and completely brainwashed by my mom. He literally hit me in the face recently, twice. He also threw a water bottle at me in the same fight on August 10th. I'm still in denial that this is the same guy I once looked up to. It's beyond painful, but the respect and bond we had, it's gone. I have nothing but pure hatred towards him now. But then, there's my fiancé, 27-year-old male. He's my saving grace in this chaos. After 3 years together, I can say without a doubt that he's the peace I desperately needed. His family? They're the most chill people ever. They have this calmness and bond that I've always craved, and I'm honestly so excited to move in with them, start our life together, and finally breathe. He makes me feel safe in a way that I never knew was possible. I fall asleep in his arms all the time, even in public, because he brings such peace to my nervous system that I can't help it. Cheesy? Maybe? True? Absolutely. I feel so disconnected from my own family, yet completely at home with his. I know some people don't understand when I say I'm eager to move in with him and his family, but it just feels right. They have a warmth and sense of community that I've always longed for. So here's where I need advice. I'm seriously considering cutting ties with, well, almost everyone. I don't want to be dramatic or burn bridges, but I feel this growing need to pull back. I've started to embrace solitude, and I'm kind of loving it. The anxiety I feel around people is exhausting, and even though I have friends and family, I just don't have the energy to maintain those connections anymore. I want to cut down interactions and slowly reduce contact with people without making a scene about it. The weird thing is, I'm not even bored. I have a full-time job, a part-time job, and plenty of hobbies: embroidery, audiobooks, cycling, the gym, preparing for a marathon. I'm busy and genuinely okay with not connecting with others. I stick to my room most of the time. Working from home is a blessing, and I avoid my mom and brother as much as possible. Once I move in with my fiancé, I'm thinking about phasing out most social interactions altogether. But am I making a mistake here? Could cutting ties like this backfire in the long run? Is it healthy to just opt out of socializing? I would love some perspective. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. It is not weird, unless you and your partner make it weird. Okay, it would be weird if they went to a strip club or something, but if they are normally meeting to chat and engage in socially appropriate activities, there is no reason for you to isolate yourself. Also, you can introduce your boyfriend to them. Generally, it's a bad idea to isolate yourself away from friends and rely solely on your partner. It is fine at first, but it will suck for both of you over time. For him, because you will have no other outlet and will be too dependent on him. Comment 2. I am talking about your friends with whom you claim to have a good time, not about your family. If your brother is violent towards you, it is reasonable to cut him off. My advice would be to cut off the family, but to keep the friends you have. Now, for the update. 2 days after my last post, my brother texted me out of nowhere asking to meet up. Obviously, I was hesitant, but we agreed to meet at this local diner we used to go to all the time as kids. I got there first, ordered a coffee, and just sat there staring at the wall, feeling like I was about to get into the most awkward therapy session of my life. My brother walked in, looking less aggressive than the last time I saw him, but still guarded as hell. He sat down without even bothering to say hi. Like, cool, glad to see you too, bro. The air was super tense. After a few moments of us just sitting there, he finally apologized for getting physical a couple of weeks ago. I could tell he was thinking this over, like he needed to really rehearse what he was about to say. He started talking about how our mom has been pressuring him to take sides. Apparently, she's been feeding him this line that I'm the reason for all our family problems. Classic. He said he was just tired of the family drama, but he didn't know how to escape it. I mean, who does? We reminisced a bit about our childhood, back when life was simple and we didn't have to deal with our mom's ridiculousness. I mentioned maybe we could confront her together about all this, but he hesitated. Then he dropped the news that he'd be going to a family gathering at our parents' house next weekend. Great. Just what I needed. We wrapped up our chat and went our separate ways, and I had a week to stew in the knowledge that I'd be facing the entire family soon. So, fast forward to the family gathering. It was for our parents' anniversary, which, surprise, surprise, was the reason for all the family drama in the first place. The tension was obvious from the moment we stepped in. I mean, I felt like I was walking into a pressure cooker, but I guess this was a step up from a landmine. My mom greeted everyone with her usual cheerful facade, but you could just sense the hostility beneath the surface. It's all about the show for her. During dinner, I tried to engage in conversation, but she was dismissing my comments left and right. My brother's wife, Rachel, tried to lighten the mood with her jokes, but my mom shot those down too. The poor woman just couldn't win. After dinner, I decided enough was enough. I confronted my mom in the kitchen. I didn't go in guns blazing or anything. I just calmly told her about the hurtful things she's been saying about me. Like, how does she not know? She insisted that she was just trying to look out for the family's best interest. I mean, really? I challenged her, pointing out how her words have actually pushed us all apart. The atmosphere was thick, and you could cut it with a knife. She raised her voice, denying any wrongdoing. At that point, my brother stepped in, backing me up and saying he's just so freaking tired of the manipulation. That was a moment. Then my mom stormed out of the kitchen, leaving everyone else in shock. I could feel the weight of my brother's support as we exchanged a look. It was like we were in a war zone together, and we'd both made it out alive. Later that night, I got a surprising message from my mom asking to talk one-on-one. I was like, what now? We met at a nearby coffee shop, and the atmosphere was so much calmer. She started off by apologizing for her behavior, which I was not expecting. I guess she has a soft spot for coffee shop vibes. But she insisted that she wants the family to stay close. Of course, she does. She then reluctantly agreed to back off on the whole choosing sides thing, but she hinted that not everyone would be happy with these changes. Well, not everyone has to be happy, does she? Mini update. After that coffee shop chat with my mom, I felt like I was in a surreal dream. I didn't trust her completely and felt it was just a temporary truce. I told my fiancé everything, and he was relieved but cautious. He suggested we keep a close eye on my mom's behavior. My brother reached out too, surprised by how things had turned out. We agreed to meet up soon to discuss our parents in more detail. My fiancé's family was also supportive, so that was a relief. Overall, I felt hopeful yet guarded about everything that had happened. Am I the idiot for cutting off my best friend after she made my mom's funeral all about her? I have been stewing on this for a while, literally about 9 months. Trigger warnings, self-harm, drugs, drunk driving. So there is me, now 31 years old, the ex-friend I'll call Ashley, who is 30 years old, as well as a slew of family involved in this to varying degrees. Ashley was my best friend. I'd been there for her through a lot, even going so far as to drive money to her an hour away so she could pay bills. I did not have a money transfer option because she owes money on all of them, and it would get taken from her account if I did. Ashley has made many mistakes in her life, but I didn't care. She was my friend. As long as she was a good friend to me, being there when I needed her, I'd be there to help her out anytime. I had a terrible year. My long-term partner had moved in with me, and my mom, who I had been living with and taking care of for 10 years. She didn't have a disability, but she was the type that wouldn't eat unless told to, and I wanted to help her save money and pay down her credit card bills. My mom was in her 60s. My mom had some severe mental health issues, but refused to get help. Depression, anxiety, anger issues, all this I knew. It is speculated she also had borderline personality disorder, but it's a moot point now. She started a mental war on my partner and me for a year, culminating in her taking her own life in our backyard, specifically where I would find her. I will not go into further details as it is still very traumatizing for me, but I was not in a good place. My sisters and I planned the funeral in our hometown 4 hours away. I booked a hotel room for my best friend because she wanted to come but couldn't afford to stay the night. The drive is not the safest, so I got her 2 nights so we could focus on the funeral, not driving on the day of, and not have to drive 8 hours in total one day. She decided to drink and drive. Literally chugged drinks before getting in the car and had more on the drive, to the point where I had to help her when she got to the hotel, falling down drunk. And yes, she got into 2 accidents on the drive. Thankfully, no one else was involved. During the funeral, she, who is also in a committed relationship, was hitting on my adult nephew and my sister's ex-husband in front of all of us. We also believe she may have been using coke based on some of her behavior. A week after, I sent her a long text detailing everything she did that upset me, particularly that I was taking care of her at my mother's funeral. I asked for time to work through the trauma before I decided if I wanted to continue the friendship. At Christmas, about a month later, she sent a Christmas gift and a letter. I threw the whole thing in the garage. She has still reached out at various points in time, including recently, where she apparently got engaged to the man she was trying to cheat on at the funeral. I haven't responded, but I don't know if I should read the letter. I'm already dealing with the anniversary coming up, flashbacks, emotions, and dreams. I don't know if now is the right time, or if I should even read it at all. Obviously, there is more that happened than just what I can put here, but what should I do? Should I read the letter or throw the whole thing away? Should I wait until next year? Maybe not so close to the anniversary. Now, for a few comments before the update. Well, actually, this post didn't have any comments. Now, for the update. The day after I tossed Ashley's letter without even reading it, my cousin Mark called me up and said, "Yo, your mom's old friend Linda is doing some memorial event for your mom. You should probably go." So I sucked it up and went. It was this whole thing. A bunch of our family and friends were there, telling stories and sharing memories. It was all very somber, like you couldn't even crack a smile without someone giving you the side eye. I was in the corner, trying to hold it together, listening to all these people talk about my mom like she was a saint or something. Like, yeah, she was cool and all, but she wasn't perfect. Anyway, as I was spacing out, I noticed Ashley across the room. She was laughing it up with a group of people like she was at a freaking party or something, not even a care in the world. I felt this flash of anger and confusion. Like, how could she be so oblivious, so insensitive? But I just ignored her, turned my back, and went back to being a zombie. A few moments later, Mark came over and suggested we get some fresh air outside. He could probably sense I needed to vent or something. So we went outside, and I just let it all out. I told him how I was doing, which was basically not great but not terrible, and he told me how everyone else was coping. Then he casually mentioned that he heard Ashley was engaged. My heart sank. I was about to say something when Ashley stepped outside, looking for me. Of course, she came up to me all smiles, saying she was glad to see me and wanted to talk. Like, really? Right now? She brought up the letter she sent, saying she hoped it would help mend things between us. Then she dropped the news. She's pregnant. I was so caught off guard, I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, probably looking like a deer in headlights. Mark, sensing the tension between us, decided to excuse himself. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate the awkwardness. So there we were, just the two of us. Ashley insisted she wanted to make amends and started trying to explain her past mistakes, but I didn't want to hear it. She suddenly shifted the topic, saying she wanted me to be involved in the baby's life. She was planning a small gathering to celebrate the engagement and wanted me to attend. Then she dropped another surprise. She wanted to name the baby after my mom. She leaned in closer, saying she knew how much my mom meant to me. I felt a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion. She apologized for everything but insisted we could start fresh for the baby's sake. Just then, my phone buzzed with a message from Mark, asking if everything was okay. Instead of answering, I just walked away, leaving Ashley standing there, talking to herself. Mark was inside, and when I got back, he asked how we were doing. I just said it was tense outside and left it at that. As we were leaving the memorial, I heard Ashley calling after us, wanting to talk again. I just ignored her, focused on getting away from the whole thing. When I got home, I found another text from Ashley, asking to meet up soon to discuss everything. I don't know what she wants from me. Edit. I didn't reply to Ashley's text and just let some time pass. A few weeks later, Mark asked me to meet up for a drink. It was his roundabout way of getting me to talk about the whole thing with Ashley, I could tell. So we met up, and he kind of backed me into a corner about how I felt about the baby and everything. I told him I was still thinking things over and needed time, which seemed to put him at ease. He also mentioned how Ashley was trying to reach out to our other friends, looking for support. He suggested that maybe we should all meet up together, just to see where everyone else stood. It sounded like a good idea at the time, so I agreed. Am I the idiot for telling my boyfriend about my trauma and making him question our relationship? I met my boyfriend, who is 26 years old, around 10 months ago, and we've been together for around 9 months. Today, we had our first big argument, and I was at fault for not being able to properly communicate about this issue with him before. To make him understand why I was scared to talk to him about it, I decided to tell him about my past trauma, which has shaped the way I behave today. He was the first person that I've shared all that with, and I unloaded a lot on him. To make it short, ever since I was a child, my parents didn't listen to my opinion and forced me to do many things they wanted their child to do in order to become successful. The older I got, the harder it was to bear. The worst came during the first year of university. Not only did my first boyfriend break up with me a few months before it started out of the blue, but my mother manipulated me and forced me to go to the university I didn't want to attend. I struggled a lot there and developed severe depression. That made me fail exams, which made my depression worse, and that, in turn, left me with no option other than taking my own life. I just felt so alone, worthless, and miserable that I saw no other solution to end my pain. Thankfully, my unalived attempt was unsuccessful, and my parents finally allowed me to go to the university I wanted to attend. This all made me think my needs are not important, and that whenever an argument arises, the person will either get angry at me or leave me for being too much or too flawed. Now, I cannot talk about my problems with people and try to deal with everything myself. That's why I avoid conflict as much as possible and try to project a perfect persona on the outside. There are so many layers to it, but this post is already so long that I won't go deeper into it. Now, my boyfriend was understanding, and we talked some more before he had to finish. After our talk, he texted me that he's glad I opened up to him, but he needs to digest all the information because it's a lot. We haven't talked for the rest of the evening. I know it might sound unreasonable for some people, but I am terrified that now he sees how flawed I am, he will decide to leave me. He's the first person I've ever opened up to about this, and I fear it's going to absolutely break me if he decides to break up with me. I fear no one will ever accept me, and I'm angry at myself for unloading all that trauma on him. Do you have any advice on how to deal with my emotions in the situation? Should I behave normally and send him some daily updates or messages, or should I let him contact me first? To add, I also want to mention that I am going to therapy and actively trying to work through it all. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Hello. Thank you for your kind words. It means a lot to me right now, as even though my head knows all that, my heart doesn't listen to it. I knew sooner or later I would have to talk to him about it, as even with therapy, this issue still affects me. We have such a healthy relationship. It's hard to think someone better than him could come along. I beat myself up for not telling him sooner, but I've been guarding this secret for the past 6 years, and it's terrifying to be this vulnerable with someone again. I will try to endure it and give him time to come to terms with it all. Comment 2. Are you more casual or more serious? If you're serious, then this should never be something he should leave you over. Relationships are places where you should be able to be completely open and deal with the challenges together. If you two are really serious, maybe he's a little upset that it came so late. It's not like you told him you keyed your last boyfriend's car after you broke up. You told him something deep and sensitive for you. My advice is to give him a week and see if he reaches out. If not, ask for a talk in person to try to decompress the situation. Now, for the update. It's been almost 2 days since the argument with my boyfriend, and yeah, it still kinda sucks. He texted me late last night, right before I was about to fall asleep. He said he needed space to think. I mean, I get it, but I just wanted to talk it out like now. Anyway, I spent the whole day going through my old journal entries about my past trauma. Super fun, let me tell you. Reading that stuff again made me realize I hadn't shared everything with him, just the surface stuff. I have so much more to explain, but not now, I guess. I decided to give him the space he asked for, even though it was hard. I just hope he knows I'm not some crazy person who just spills everything at once. It's a process, okay? Then my parents called to invite me over for dinner that weekend. They wanted to celebrate my dad's promotion at work. I mean, I can't say no to free food and a celebration, so I reluctantly agreed to go, hoping it would take my mind off things. My brother Jake and his wife Rachel were also coming, along with my younger sister Kate. Family dinners are always a blast, right? The dinner was filled with casual banter and laughter, which felt nice. At one point, my dad brought up my relationship, asking how things were going. I kinda just shrugged and said things were fine. I didn't want to dive into my boyfriend and I having a moment of crisis. I thought that might put a damper on the whole dinner, you know? My mom then started telling a story about how she and my dad met and fell in love. I mean, it was sweet and all, but a little bit ironic, don't you think? After dinner, I excused myself to the bathroom, partly because I needed a break and partly because I wanted to check my phone. While washing my hands, I overheard my parents talking in the living room. My dad mentioned how he was worried about my boyfriend's commitment. Seriously? You're worried about his commitment? What about the fact that your daughter just had a huge fight with him? I returned to the table and tried to change the subject because I was getting a bit heated. My sister Kate asked if I was still seeing the guy from the summer. I bit my tongue, not wanting to explain anything. I just said, "Not exactly," and quickly moved on. After dinner, Jake suggested we all play a board game. I joined, trying to keep my mind busy. While playing, I received a text from my boyfriend asking to talk. I stepped outside to call him, feeling anxious. He said he missed me and wanted to see me the next day. I was so relieved to hear his voice, though I tried not to sound too excited. The next day, we met at a local diner where we had our first date. He looked nervous, fidgeting with his hands while we talked. I noticed he had a small bandage on his arm and asked about it. He revealed he had been in a minor accident while biking. What is it with guys and minor accidents? We decided to take a walk after eating, trying to lighten the mood and just be in the moment. While walking, we stumbled upon a street performer playing a song. He grabbed my hand and pulled me closer, and we danced a little in the middle of the street. As we finished dancing, I noticed a woman watching us intently. She approached, and I recognized her as an old friend from high school. She greeted me warmly, but her eyes darted to my boyfriend. It was awkward, to say the least. We parted ways with her, and I felt a sudden need for clarity. So, yeah. Edit. I asked my boyfriend where he saw our relationship going, and he admitted he didn't know. He explained that he had never been in a relationship like this, which caught him off guard. He wanted to be with me, but was unsure about our future. I shared my feelings about his uncertainty, and we talked for a while. We both agreed to take things slow for now and see where it goes. Overall, it was a productive conversation. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.